through the street. We said as we were.
Hello, kids. This is Pop-Up, and I'm awful glad to be able to talk to you and say hi and I love you all. It's wonderful, isn't it? To be miles away and talking to you right there. I'll be darned. Well, that's your mother and dad. They're all so hooked up with you kids, and I am too. I think it's wonderful to be a grandpa with all those little kids up there and find out that it's wonderful to be a little one. Now, I'm getting too far ahead of myself. Oh no. We had 6 children in the family, and my mother and dad. The girls, 4 girls, which was Elizabeth, Catherine, Dorothy, and Dottie. That don't sound right. Margie and Dorothy. And Chester and Edward, me. So we had quite a place. Big house, farm, lived on a farm, and I think we had a very good life. We ate it good anyway. We had a big garden, and we had all kinds of vegetables and some fruit trees, and well, we were very fortunate, even though we did have to walk to school and hard walk back, and we had a little hard times. My dad was a hatter. He made hats. There were straw hats. There was all kinds of hats. Felt hats. And then well, here we are again. I'm going to tell you a story about Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. They were very good friends of Mr. Candy, and Mr. Candy and his children lived next door to us. And Babe used to come up with Lou, maybe 4 or 5 times a year, and they had a lot of fun. Babe loved kids, and my sister Dottie has a picture of her in his lap. She was only a little kid at that time, maybe 8, 9 years old. But we had a lot of fun with Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. And they had fun there too, because they liked to drink, especially Babe Ruth. And they just loved each other. Candy, Mr. Candy, and Babe and Lou Gehrig. Sometimes they'd bring their wives, and they had a real nice party. But Now, Mr. Candy used to give me $10 to take all the kids to the movies. At that time, it was 15 cents each. And we'd pay a ice cream cone, double dipper, was 10 cents. And I'm telling you, it was Thomas's ice cream store. And he was an old man, and he had a black suit on, a black hat. They gave you the ice cream, the most he could put in the ice cream cone. Maybe sometimes he'd get three spoonfuls, real big ones. And when he gave you a quart of ice cream, he'd open up the flaps and fill it right up to the top. And you just hardly could eat it. Now I'm going to tell you a story about when I went to work for the A&P when I was a little kid, delivering groceries. Now the store wasn't any bigger than, very, very little, very, very little. It only had one grocery man, Mr. Bruce, and I used to deliver the groceries on Saturday. If I worked all day Saturday, and I'd get some vegetables out of my dad's garden, and I would sell them on the way down in my little wagon. And if I got 10 cents for 2 candy bars for my mother, I was tickled to death. I'd get her a couple chocolate candies. That's how things were at that time. But I'd make probably $1 or less, mostly less. I'd get penny tips, and mostly with colored people. But with my little wagon, I'd get the groceries there to the people, and they might give me a penny. And that's no joke. So everything was fine if I got enough to get the candy bars for my mother. Now I'm going to tell you the story about Lindbergh's baby. Lindbergh flew the Atlantic Ocean, the first one to go by airplane, lived just up the road a little ways, and his little baby got kidnapped. And they were looking for a long, long time to try to find him. And when they found him, he was out of this world. So that's enough for Lindbergh. I'm going to tell you a little story about clam bakes. My dad used to have a clam bake every summer, twice, 2 times, 2 clam bakes at different times. He worked at a hat shop where you make hats, and he did it for all the people that made hats. So we were busy, my sisters and I, getting ready for the clam bake. I had to kill, now listen, kill 250 chickens to get 125 twice. Halves. I used to cut them in half. So for 250 hatters in the hat shop. So my dad and the kids, my sisters, used to go out in the garden and cut the corn and potatoes, dig the potatoes. We did everything, got everything from the garden, and we got the lobsters out on the ocean from a man. We got them all the time. Right where we live, you can get lobsters. We used to go and get them ourselves, for ourselves. And my dad used to get everything ready, put the tables out, and he had help to do that. Well, we did the work at home. The cooking, not the cooking, but my dad did the cooking. Then in bags, those cloth bags with little bitty holes in them. We used to keep everything in there to cook all together. There was all but the tomatoes. The corn was cooked. The potatoes was cooked, and different vegetables was cooked. And then we used to get the lobsters, and a whole 250 lobsters, and we put it in the cooker. It was really, really the tops. So anyway, we got to kill the chickens, cut them in half, take the feathers off them, take the legs off them, and clean them all out, and we would take them and put them in the bag with all the vegetables, the potatoes, and anything that goes with a clam bake, and we cook them all up. We had everything to cook with. We had to have, because it was quite a deal to make cook all these clams, and oh yeah, we dug the clams too. We dug the clams. There was plenty of clams we had. So a soft shell and hard shell. Little cherry stones. They were beautiful. But they're still there. The clammers are still there in the same spot we got the clams from, because they used to put them in the winter, put them in the ground, and raise the clams up. And they did a good job, because they're still doing it, and they're still selling clams there. Our town is named Clam Town. You might think that's funny, but that's where the clams come from, the ocean. And we did about everything that we could to well, I'm back again to tell you, and you can ask your grandmother, Susan. She used to help me with when we had to bake, but we used to have to bake for ourselves. And she came with her mother, And we had a nice, him, my dad, and Mr. Bates, and some of his friends would be there at the house, and we had a wonderful Saturday, and really nice. I can see it now. Sometimes I think about it anyway. Clam bake and lobsters. Golly, they get 100 and some lobsters. 200, I meant. 250 at least, because there'd be that many helpers. Not helpers, but I'm getting all mixed up. But anyway, we had fun, and ask Bonnie, or not Bonnie, Susan. Bonnie wasn't around at that time. But she came later. That was my other daughter. She's like Susan, does everything the right way. You know what I mean? That's exactly the way the two of them are. I brought them up that way. Oh golly, you have to bring yourself up that way. Nobody can do it. It's down and it comes up.
Oh.
And
Oh, you talk into it?
no,
Sing it?
yeah,
Oh.
you talk into it. I didn't. Oh, Jesus,
I didn't touch nothing.